Happy Tuesday here on Game Time Picks with KIV. We're going to run through some NBA, some college basketball, and of course, some NHL. Speaking of NHL, Karm and I just got done. We did an NHL playoff betting preview, so learned a few things there. Welcome in, Carmine. You guys know what to do. You have a question for myself or Carmine, drop it in the chat. I am manning the Instagram channel. Somebody else is in charge of Twitter, and I don't know where else you guys are going to send questions from besides YouTube. That is the main chat. You guys love our YouTube channel, so thank you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe so you never miss another show. Welcome in, Karm.
Kel, thanks for having me. Ton of action tonight in the NHL. We filmed that show, and then I was watching the Champions League game because I had Arsenal. I told you Arsenal like minus a goal and a half, and it's like 1-0 going to extra time now to decide who moves on. I'm not happy about that. Anytime I don't cash a bet, I'm not happy about it. But there's 10 games in NHL tonight, and we're going to talk about every one of them if you guys want to in the chat. Just drop a game in the live chat if you want an opinion. There's a couple of games where I wouldn't bet it with your money, Kel. But I'll mention those if anybody wants to know about them. They're just some ugly games, but we get some really good ones.
We get lots of good questions about the chat. College basketball has been underway for a better part of the day. UCF rolled Oklahoma State. I wanted to lay it with the Golden Knights, and I did not. Still kicking myself for that one. I have been ice freaking cold, Carmine. I joked that somebody should fade me the other night, and he goes, well, we don't follow you to fade you. I'm like, yeah, well, right now until we get through this stretch, that's what you need to be doing. However, I did lay 1.5 minus 120 with the Miami Hurricanes. Ralph Michaels was supposed to send me his chart. He has not. But Ralph was on Wagertalk today with Prez and Teddy. He was talking about teams with double revenge in their conference tournaments laying points. So Miami is a favorite tonight. I think they're up to 2 pretty much on the Wagertalk odds screen. I will get that open here in a minute. But this Miami team is ugly. They have lost 9 games in a row. Jim Laranga, if I can say that correctly, has just fallen off a freaking cliff since they started here in ACC play. It's been rough going, but we know what Miami does one thing well, and that is they can bang down those 3-point shots. One of the worst teams against the 3-point shot in the country. Yeah. Boston College. I did lay it with Miami tonight, but as I mentioned, I have been ice freaking cold. Again, if you guys want to follow, you want to fade, just trying to be transparent. Carmine, let's talk about a game that you do like tonight on the ice while we wait for some questions from the audience.
Yeah, so I'll go through a couple of them, Cal. But the great thing about Puck Time, if you guys tune into Puck Time, we have a lot of different segments. So I'm going to mention those first. We have a ladder challenge. We've been trying to do this ladder challenge, Cal. This is our 3rd attempt. The first one we got to game 4. The second ladder attempt, we got to game 3. And it was the same team that literally mushed us both times, the Ottawa Senators. We're never taking that team or any Canadian team again, even though I reside north of the border in this ladder challenge. Yesterday, play 1 of the ladder challenge comes in. Play 2 is tonight, and we are taking the Minnesota Wild in regulation, which means they have to win it in 60 minutes. They play the Arizona Coyotes. You're laying $1.20, $1.25 in that one for them to win, and I believe they get it done in 60 minutes. So follow the ladder challenge, and then Kel, you're going to love this one, the 6 in 60 segment on Fridays. I do an advanced look at Saturday. It is 6 games in 60 seconds. I went a little different last week. I went 6 in 60, which meant all 6 teams had to win in 60 minutes. I posted a ticket. I played the ticket, your type of odds, 35 to 1, 100 to win 3,600. 5 of the games win. The Edmonton Oilers blow a 2-0 lead as the only loser on that ticket. But a lot of people round robin the 6 in 60. So there was a lot of positive comments on Monday as far as the 6 in 60 go.
Well, that's good. People are far smarter than myself, Carmine. Your co-host, Puck Time, here on the Wagertalk YouTube channel, has a question in the chat. Can you please ask Karm about the Ducks versus the Blackhawks and the Toilet Bowl? Hey, as a resident Blackhawks fan, I don't appreciate that, Andrew, but I know they have. I thought they were going to turn a corner after drafting Connor Bedard, and here we are.
No, well, yeah, the duck. My God, the Ducks and Hawks. I clearly have written beside the game here. Don't do it. Do not bet your hard-earned money on this game. Listen, Chicago comes off a win against Arizona in their last game, 7-4. I don't know, I'm not sure where they even found 7 goals, but Arizona just looks like a team that, at least on the road, are pretty miserable. 2-12 their last 14 games, and now the Ducks come to town. And it's one of those ones where, and Kel, we talked about it in the betting video. When you're playing during the last 10 or 15 games of any team's schedule, I believe you have to drop some games out of your betting portfolio. And this is one, because this game means absolutely nothing to either team. You don't know who is showcasing players from the AHL, bringing guys up, auditioning players. And it is just a game where it doesn't really matter who wins. Uh, the Hawks are mired in last place. They're likely going to have the best percentage to win the draft again. And I wasn't happy about Bedard going to Chicago, Kel, I'm sorry to say, just because of the history of what has happened in Chicago over the last, 10 years or so, but also because I just feel he belonged on a different team. Anaheim could have been one of those teams. Anaheim pretty much traded some of their players away. It's a meaningless game. If nothing else, yeah, in a game like this where you expect a lot of open ice, you just bet, unfortunately, you just bet the over and hope that it gets there. But this one is not getting a penny of my money tonight.
Yeah, I don't blame you. There's just some teams that are both so bad. It's not worth getting involved in. Carmine, we've all been there. Let's look at a game that the chat wants to talk to me about. And this worked out well for us. Last night, if you guys remember, BP, Brian Power said, if you like San Francisco, take them in the first half. We got the money there. They did not cover down the stretch. And why? Because Gonzaga has been a freaking wagon over the last couple of weeks. They got their revenge against St. Mary's. They got their revenge against Santa Clara. And this team has been rocking and rolling. Now, this is a tough one. Neutral court here in the West Coast Conference. I don't want to lay it here with Gonzaga. I like this St. Mary's team. I really do. Randy Bennett's squad plays so slow. They're methodical. They get the boards, offensive and defensive, better than any other team in the country. They don't allow you to get points in the paint. But here's something that Brian Power and I talked about in regards to teams, what we're looking for, and ones that we're not wanting to bother with. That is teams who make their free throws. And that is my one caveat about the Gales and why I cannot bet them tonight. Trust me, I want to step in front of this Gonzaga team so bad. I just cannot do it. So good luck to you if you take the points here with St. Mary's, but it is not going to be my cup of tea. We have a YouTube question here for Carmine regarding the NHL, of course. Let's bring it up, bring Carmine back, see what we've got here. Sonny wants to know, should we go back to the Wild with the Minnesota Wild in regulation? The Yotes stink. Carmine, let's make this a two-part question. One of the more popular plays I've noticed, and it also depends where you like to bet. Some are including overtime. Talk to me about what types of bets you prefer to make and why.
So one of the ones I normally I just can't lay a lot of juice in the NHL, Cal. Once a line hits like 170, 180, I'm just not going to touch it. I very rarely will do so. So what I look at, if I still like a team, there's a couple of ways of doing it. And Dave Koken was very good at this and still does it. And he's the GOAT of sports betting and NHL as well too. He would literally, if you like 4%, if you're going to play 4% on a team, you could split that up and take 2% on the full game line of, let's say, minus 170, and then 2% on the puck line of minus 1.5, and you're usually getting plus money on a 170 line. You're probably getting about plus 130, plus 140 back on the puck line if they cover. If you have faith in that team winning and that game goes and that team covers the puck line, you win both bets, of course. If it goes to overtime, you're looking at you needing your team to win in order to break even and basically push your bet. But by the same instance, technically on a 4% play, you're no longer laying 170. You brought it down to probably about minus 120, minus 130, which is the way to go. I tend to look at it that way, and regulation. If it ticks off enough boxes for me, I will take it in regulation, or it's just a straight pass for me because I don't want to lay the juice. Because as you know, Kel, if you consistently lay juice in the 170, 180, 190, and you're not good at it, you are going to bury yourself, your bankroll, and in our business, your clients. And I just can't do it. So I'll shy away from them and look at regulation, and it's worked out. Over the course of even the last 3 or 4 days, I've had 3 regulation bets, and they've all cashed. So I'm going to stick to that. It has to tick off the right boxes, and one of the boxes is being at home most of the time. I'd rather bet on teams at home if I'm taking a regulation line.
Very, very good stuff there from Karm. Like I mentioned, we just did an NHL playoff video, and one of the things he got my wheels turning. He's like, Kelly, start looking those under, start looking at those dogs, and just because they're at home and they're a favorite does not mean they win in the playoffs. That is something I always love to hear. I'm gonna check the comment section, see what else I can find here. Carmine, real quick though, I wanted to give you a plug before I forget.
Yeah.
Carmine 50.
No, I was just going to mention, I'm sorry. Sonny asked the question, and I talked about everything but answer his question.
Oh, because you answered my question, but not Sonny's question.
Yes. So yeah, I wouldn't say the Oats stink, but they emit a foul odor. Listen, they're just not a very good road team, and had lost, I think, 14 or 15 in a row before they went in and beat the Ottawa Senators, and then backed that up by beating Washington on the road. But they went back to normal in losing to Chicago 7-4. This is a Minnesota team. Kel, this is what Minnesota did in their last game. There's a rule. Not a lot of people know this rule. They pulled their goalie in overtime in a game in which they're playing Nashville.
This was awesome.
It was 3-on-3. And they basically gambled. It was like Riverboat Ron back of the Carolina or Washington days in the NFL. They gambled on the fact they needed 2 points, and maybe analytics told them 4-on-3, you're bound to win the game in overtime. The opposite of that is, had they been scored on in overtime on 3-on-3, they wouldn't have gotten the point you normally get for getting into overtime because they pulled their goalie while it's 3-on-3. So they're ultimately it is a gamble, but there's a gamble that they won. And when you have a team like this and they're 14-7-2, their last 23 games. Why do I preface 23 games? Because 23 games ago or 24 games ago, they lost 6-0 to this Arizona team at home, and have been on a good run since, including beating Arizona twice in Arizona. So yes, mini in regulation tonight.
Okay, regulation. And he answered the question on when you should be betting teams in regulation or not. We have another couple of questions here from YouTube we'll get to in 1 minute. But first, I wanted to plug Carmine. Right now, Karm 50 gets you $50 off his 30-day NHL package. And that gets you to the end of the regular season. Karm 50 is $50 off his 30-day NHL package. WT.buzz/CB. Let's go back to the comment section. Don't forget Instagram. You guys can drop your comments here too. Seeing lots of people in the chat, but no questions for me regarding college basketball or NBA. Rangers Canes to the under. This looks like a playoff hockey type of game, Carmine.
It is. 4 points separate these two for the number 1 seed in the Metro. Rangers currently have it. They're 4 points up. That was a much bigger lead during the regular season, but Carolina's playing extremely well, have closed the gap. Rangers are on the second of a back-to-back, and normally that should scare people off of the Rangers. Last night I talked about it on Puck Time. I didn't want to take the Islanders because they were in the second of a back-to-back, and they were 0-6 in back-to-backs on the second one. The Rangers, the complete opposite. They are 9-1 in the second of back-to-backs. But I don't want to touch the Rangers either. I think this is a playoff type game, like Mike is saying in the chat. I would lean to the under here because in using other games, when you get 2 very good teams with very good defenses and goalies, unless there's a lot of power plays and there isn't a lot of discipline on the ice, you're going to get some power plays, you're going to get some goals. I just don't see that happening here. It's the same way I felt about the New Jersey and the Rangers game yesterday. And a lot of people were like, there is no way I am taking the under in that game. It was 6.5 and the game finished 3-1. you have to look at the last 3 or 4 weeks of the NHL season completely different. A lot of games are gravitating to the under, and books are adjusting their odds accordingly. The 6.5s are disappearing. We're going to see sixes. We're going to see 5.5s.
Carmine, how soon do you think before we start seeing sevens? I mean, I've seen some very juiced over 6.5s, if you will.
Yeah, I think they're going to be gone. The sevens were normally there early in the season. The sevens were there because of the Edmonton Oilers. They couldn't play defense and they could score. So there's a lot of Edmonton over sevens. They fired their coach. They brought in their coach. They went on a new coach went on a 16-game win streak, and a majority of those games were under. The Oilers were allowing 1 or 2 goals a game and winning games by like a 4-1, 4-2 margin. It was unbelievable how well this team was playing defensively. And the same thing with the New Jersey Devils. There was quite a few Devils games and Sabre games where you would see sevens, but I don't think you're going to see them anymore unless it's a late season game in which the Oilers are playing a team like the Blackhawks or the Arizona Coyotes, games in which you just feel like they're going to blow them out. But I wouldn't take a 7. You need 8 to get to the window. I wouldn't do it.
I know we've seen some really high flying NHL totals this year, and it has just been absolutely, I mean, there was a couple that I logged in the app. I'm like, this looks like a football score, Karm. Like, how ridiculous. But I just was curious if those things were going to start to become a norm or not. All right. More hockey. You guys love the hockey tonight, which is great because I don't love the college basketball slate. Tomorrow's college basketball slate, however, we'll touch on a couple of those games that will be going off before this show goes live. Wild Panthers money line parlay. Now, Karm, this isn't really my style. 2 favorites on the money line here, but I know that when you're using sports that are unlined, in other words, there's not a point spread associated with them, this is very popular and also can be profitable.
Yeah, GB, I like the Wild part of it. I don't like the Panthers part of it, and I'll tell you why. Is the Panthers are playing extremely well, and I talked on Puck Time today about the fact that Florida-Dallas game, if you're a fan of any other team, you're not going to like it, but it could be a preview of the Stanley Cup Finals, because I've been saying all year long, I thought the Dallas Stars were probably one of the best teams in the West, and they're finally showing it right now and playing extremely well. And the Panthers, injuries stopped them in the Stanley Cup Finals last year, but this team is playing lights out as well too. They're so hard to score against. So I probably wouldn't take that. I'd probably look at the Wild and take them with the Colorado Avalanche, because you have Calgary coming home off a 3-game road trip, the Bermuda Triangle, I call it, of road trips, where they play Florida, Tampa Bay, and Carolina. When you end in Carolina, it normally ends bad, and it did for Calgary, losing 7-2. They allowed 12 goals in those 2 games, lose by a 12-3 margin the last 2. Now they head home, and the Avalanche on 3 days rest are waiting for them. Not a good situation, I think, for Calgary tonight. So I'd go Wild and Avalanche instead. The Panthers game, I like the under. And again, 2 very good defensive teams. And Kelly, early in the year, the Stars were a dead-on betting the over at home. They were 21-5 their first 26 games to the over at home. Since then, as we've gotten into the last 15 to 20 games of the season, they are 4-1 to the under their past 5 at home, and they get a Florida team coming in that can play some D. Under 6 is the play for me there.
All right, we're going to have some more questions here in just a couple of minutes. I actually wanted to touch on, before we end the show, we got 12 minutes or so, a couple of those early games tomorrow. My friend Clint just put in the comment section, he likes TCU tomorrow. That game is early there in the Big 12 conference tournament. TCU, 2.5-point favorite pretty much across the board on the Wagertalk odds screen to Oklahoma. This was interesting. Yesterday, there was a tweet going around about Porter Moser taking a potential head coaching job at DePaul. Thought it was very weird. Then he put out like an awkward tweet that's like, no, I'm not leaving. I don't know what to believe. I took Oklahoma on Saturday versus Texas, and they play against Texas. That being said, I can't trust Oklahoma here. Yes, they can defend the 3 ball really well, but that's about all they can do. They remind me of Kansas State in so many ways that are frustrating. They have a solid defense, but they turn the ball over so much. If you look at the bracketology kind of standings yet as of yesterday. I have not looked at them today. It basically says TCU and Oklahoma are both going to get in. Big 12 is going to get 9 teams in. If Oklahoma gets beat, maybe Kansas State can spring an upset or 2 over Texas. Kind of keep an eye there. Also, BYU versus UCF. We spoke about this in the Big 12 preview with Trig as well as CT. I'm not laying it here with BYU, but 14-1, 12-1. I've seen a couple of a little bit higher. I think it was Superbook that had the highest odds on BYU to win the Big 12 out of the top part of the bracket. We all love Baylor 8-1, which is pretty much now plus 700 or so across the board on the bottom part of the bracket. Hopefully we can get both those guys playing each other in the championship round. I have a lot more work to do tomorrow in terms of handicapping some of these early games. Luckily, some of them don't start until about 3 o'clock. The 12:30 game, I will not be on UCF, but I do appreciate UCF as an underdog. They have been super scrappy all season long, including being on the road. They might not be winning games, but they are definitely covering in their first year in the Big 12 conference, and that is on the backs of their defense. Now, BYU, we know that they are a problem, and they can score at will. Yeah. Spencer Johnson, very frustrating. He is not my favorite person. Let me say this. When I have a bet against BYU, love him when I bet on BYU. Look for that game to be a little bit closer, I think. BYU getting that first bye game. UCF, kind of well-oiled machine as of this point. I think they're going to be able to keep this one close enough. I will let you guys know tomorrow if I end up on it. Let's look at, Merrimack. Yes, guys, the question would like to know about Merrimack. I do not have Adam Trigger on today's show, so I'm not going to be able to answer that. I apologize. Maybe Trig's in the comment section. Maybe we can get his very detailed analysis to see what he thinks. I don't know. I don't know if he's in here or not. If Trig, if you're there, let us know. Merrimack, -7. These really small conferences are tough for me to focus on, especially when I have guys like Trig. Let's bring back in Carmine. Any more NHL questions for Carmine? If not, Carmine, leave us with a free best bet for tonight.
All right. So I did take on puck time the Avalanche in regulation time. I think it's a bad spot for Calgary returning home. And I did say I was going to fade them. They lose those last couple of games against very good teams. They have looked good over the last 10 to 12 games, but when they play better teams, they struggle, and they've got the Avalanche waiting for them, and then the Vegas Golden Knights right after. So Avs in regulation, I think, is a play. You only have to lay $1.05 on that one, as opposed to laying a much bigger number. And then if there's ever a game in which you might see some offense, it might be in Pittsburgh and Ottawa, 2 teams that just don't care anymore. Cal, I had someone in our comment section on puck time, and he does it, and I like this guy. I think he's an English teacher. When I use the wrong terminology, he will correct me later on. And I talked about Pittsburgh. They got rid of one of their good players in Gunsel at the trade deadline, and I said prior to that game, they played Calgary, blew a lead late, and I said they literally had their souls ripped out. You could see it. And he says, Carmine, it's not literally, it's figuratively. They figuratively had their souls ripped out. So with that said, Pittsburgh and Ottawa, 2 teams that don't care. And when these teams that don't care, it becomes pond hockey. And we might see that tonight in Ottawa between these 2 teams.
Pond hockey. Oh, Carmine. All right. We have one more question here from the chat. They want to talk about shots on goal. This is a fun one. I'm really getting into the prop market a little bit more because you guys at Wagertalk are just trying out different markets that are definitely beatable. And this is a fun one when you're at the game. I actually went to a Florida Panther Golden Knight game, and we had the under, which was not fun. Let me tell you that much. It's not fun to watch in person, but the shots on goal is kind of a version of that, right, Carmine? Because it's correlated to whether you like the over or the under, depending on the goalie. So tell me how to bet shots on goal, and if you have anything that you like for tonight.
So the approach I take, and it was very successful last year, and I'm going to be using it during the last month of the NHL season, because I think the with fewer games of importance, I'm going to shy away from or stay away from the games that are meaningless. But the shots on goal come into it because players are still trying to pad their stats and collect on those incentive bonuses. And I always look at teams. One of the most important things is looking at teams. If you're going to play them, look at teams who allow a lot of shots on goal, and look for low vig prices on opponents of those. You look at the three worst teams are the San Jose Sharks, the Montreal Canadiens, the New York Islanders, and then the Anaheim Ducks. San Jose allows 35.41 shots per game, Montreal 33.23, 33.08 for the Islanders, and 33 for Anaheim. Those are the three teams that allow 33 shots or more. When you allow a lot of shots, the shot props for other teams are going to cash a lot of the times. So you start looking at those players, and then you can use some of the sites like Line Mates. You can use ones like Hockey Reference to punch in that player's name and see on his game stats on whether he's on a roll or not. You'll find a player who's on a 9-1 roll playing against Anaheim who allows, the third or fourth most shots on goal, and you take it. It is something that works. It is just doing the research. I don't have one for tonight because I didn't look them over. Very small card for me, only 2 plays I liked on this 10-game card, but I will be amping it up and releasing those on Puck Time in the weeks to come.
Love that. Make sure you guys head over to the Wagertalk odds screen, click the subscribe button, give Puck Time a couple likes. We love our favorite Canadians. Yeah, that's right. Andrew and Carmine. You heard that, Prez. Shots fired. Carmine, tomorrow. Okay, wait, one more, and then we got to go. Carmine, can you throw me a Champions League gem for tomorrow?
Oh, God. Well, considering today's Champions League gem didn't really go the way I wanted it to because Arsenal didn't cover, the under, and I know you guys are going to hate this, the under in the the Italian side, Inter Milan, Atletico Madrid. This game has like 0-0, 1-0 written all over it. It is just, I know it's hard to bet unders because you want to see something happen, but you don't have to watch this game. You just bet it and forget it. It's kind of like those infomercials at 3:00 in the morning with that guy, Ron Popeil, when he stuck a turkey into one of those ovens. He said it and forgot it. And you do the same thing. Just bet the under and come back 90 minutes later and see if you're a winner.
You're absolutely hilarious. Carmine Bianco at Carmine Bianco WT on social media. Make sure you guys are giving him a follow on our Instagram channel as well. Karm does a great job, puts out tons of content over there. Karm 50. Again, to get $50 off his 30-day NHL package. That will get you to the regular end of the season. Carmine, it was a pleasure. I hope you cash those 2 plays tonight. And we need a win, guys. We need a win. Let's see if Miami can't make it easy for us. We laid 1.5 earlier. Good luck to you guys at all your bets. We'll be back tomorrow here on the Wagertalk Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube channels.